Have a roll call.
District 1, Mr. Dudley.
Present.
District 2, Mr. Dudley.
Present.
District 3, Mr. Boyd.
Present.
District 4, Mr. Baker.
Present.
Chairman also present.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we can vote in the meeting portion. We'll have invocation by Mr. Porter and our pledge by Mr. Laurel.
Our God, our Father, you're the creator of all things, all life, and we're so thankful for that. We're so thankful for you. We're thankful for this commission, these men that consider and deliberate about the good of the county and the people of the county. We're thankful for them and their families. Pray that you watch over them and guide them and direct them every day. Watch over all of us in the county. Continue to bless us as we know that you can. Watch over this entire country as we have some difficult times, difficult decisions to make about the direction of the country. We pray for your guidance and your will be done in all things. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is approval of the agenda. We have one item to be voted on this afternoon, and then we have 8 discussion items on the work session. Any changes before we proceed?
Yes, sir, I'd like to add on our business part that we discussed the Memorial Bridge at BB Comer.
Okay. You want that on the,
I want it on the
Voting session.
meeting session, please.
okay, any other changes before we proceed? Okay, with that change, we have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, no one signed up at this point, so we'll move on to the business. We had originally wanted to meet about the park in the business session, but we'll discuss that at the work session. So we'll go through these 2 items, and the first being the motion to approve the review board selection for the vacant sanitation collector position. You have a letter in your packets regarding this position. If accepted, this will open up a position in Public Works, which will then need to be opened up and advertised. So I'd recommend that a motion can allow us to move forward with that process at the engineer's discretion. Any questions or comments? Motion to approve this item with that allowance to move forward with H&T position at Public Works.
Make that motion.
Motion with a second.
Second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, next item regarding Memorial Bridge, Mr. Little.
Yes, sir, I've had some folks come up and said, with the bridge being demoed like it has been, there's a section toward the marina. Now, this just happened today, and I don't really have any of the details about it, but they've asked for time about making a memorial out of the piece that's left. It's just a small piece. It has no obstruction for the waterways or what have you, but the way I understand it, the demolition is scheduled, one of them's scheduled for maybe tomorrow, and then the last one, which would be that piece, is going to be scheduled for Friday. And I don't know what this group, who's involved in this group, they just briefly explained to me what their intent was. We had talked about the city of Scottsboro, if they were willing to take some of the obligation on this, if the county might support them in that effort. Again, there's a lot of things to be answered. I just don't know. It happened so quickly, but I did tell them that I would bring this up and we'd go from there.
Mr. Campbell, I know you had made some attempts to contact some folks regarding a piece of that bridge. Have you had any response to this point?
I did have luck in contacting the primary contractor that's responsible for the demolition. However, the removal, the demolition section of that contract is obligated to a sub by contract, so they have all possession of what's out there. And I've yet to be in contact, the prime to put me in direct contact with that person. So as recent discussions as of last week, he was going to check again. I know he's made attempts to let them know we're interested in at least getting a section of that bridge, as we spoke about, for a possibility of a memorial. I've yet to hear from that sub or the prime with the information from the sub, but I'll be happy to request that information again.
The concerns on that, obviously, if we're able to get a piece like that, would be, where's it gonna go, liability of maintaining that, things like, just.
And I may be wrong, but I was under the impression of, leaving it where it's at, because that piece is sitting there.
Is it on the water, or is it on the?
It's the first section that comes off the approach into the water. It's sitting on one column. The rest of them's gone.
What size is it?
I
I didn't go out there, so I don't know.
If it's a whole section, it's about 120 feet, I think. But is it down in the causeway there, or is it still up on the bridge?
No, I think it's just right at the causeway.
Okay, because I've seen
what-
one down there.
But again, I don't know. I didn't look at it or anything else.
Do you know if this group has any funds available themselves?
I have no idea. Don't have anything. I know the latter of the two, of at least saving a portion of it and relocating it, that may be something they're interested in also. I don't know.
And it is in the city limits of Scottsboro, correct?
As far as I understand.
So
I'd like to know more about the whole situation, to know what's involved,
Well, I would too. Time is of essence, of course, if it's scheduled to be demolished, and we want to try to partner with the city. Again, I hadn't talked to anybody at the city. I'm just assuming they have.
The group you're talking about.
Mhm.
I guess what we could do is.
Said they had 10,000 names on the petition. That's who we represent.
The city had a meeting last night, we don't know if they brought this to them. What we could do.
You said that.
I don't know that there's anything, how would we move forward with this? We don't want to authorize, obviously, I wouldn't think we want to authorize a full taking responsibility, but perhaps authorization to negotiate with the city some type of agreement, and or is that moving too
You
far?
know what the request is.
Okay.
To-
Well, I think the request would be to maintain that piece, is that right? Maintain.
Or save it. The big thing is, according to the DOT director in the meetings that we attended, it would have to come from a governing entity to even save it.
Right.
If it's a letter saying, hey, can you give us a little bit of time? And that may not even be feasible, but that's what they've asked, and if we ask them to hold off on that part until we decide if we need to relocate it or possibly, making it a memorial where it stands. If the big thing would be waterway obstruction and anything in the way. I haven't went out there and looked. I don't know how far that pier's out, but that's what I understand the DOT was mainly concerned with.
When's, you said they blasted today, we don't know the last day.
They're packing today, possibly blasting tomorrow, and then the last blast would be Friday.
That-
That's the way I understand it, but I don't know.
I heard Wednesday at 9.
Mhm.
All right. I would think what we can do from this point then is try to find out more about that piece that's there, see if we can again try to contact the subcontractor and then talk to the city to see if they've had any correspondence. That person with the group that's contacted you said they should contact me, correct?
That is correct. That's, I asked them to call you today.
Okay, so I'll look for that and see what we can, what they've come up with. Anything else on that? All right, so that concludes the items on our business session. Because I think there may be some confusion about when we're supposed to start, I'm going to ask for a 10-minute recess. We'll start back at 2:52, so in 10 minutes, and we'll get started with the work session portion. We'll recess. We'll return from our recess for the work session. We have 8 items on the agenda as previously approved. So we'll move on to the first item. The first item regarding the park project, playground financing, and the trail. So in regard to this, several parts for this, and we'll talk about the trail first. That should be the first item you have. Has TVA at the top of the agreement. I'm not sure if you've had time to review that agreement yet or not, Mr. Porter. This agreement basically is for some funds, TVA working with us for some funds regarding the bike trail portion of this, of the project. That portion was left out of phase 1, and we had anticipated TVA funds either for that or for around the waterway, and they've approved it for the bike trail portion. So we'd like to pursue this next week if everybody's in favor, after Mr. Porter has an opportunity to review. And again, these are just dollars that would allow us to do a portion of that bike trail. Because it won't pay for the entire bike trail, I think we need to see if we can move forward with just a part of the project this time, if you can see if that would, if the language would allow us to do that. So any questions or comments about this?
What's the total on the bike trail?
Do you remember what the total? It was.
Is it a 50 or 60,000, right?
And this is for 15,000,
Correct.
so we're gonna do 10 foot.
No, we might do a portion, you know, again, the commission would have to designate.
I might do some of the striping on the road.
Right.
Some of the bike trail was existing roadway, it's just a matter of painting out that lane.
Other questions or comments? Any objection to placing this part on the agenda next week? Okay. Let us know if you see anything in it. Okay, the next part of this regarding the playground, should be the next item you have in your packets. The first page identifies all of the items that we want to include in this process for the playground. The removal and disposing of certain items, which the park will do, correct? We'll go.
If you don't mind, Mr. Hodge, I've got a letter here from, it's the Harvest Deaf Ministries. And this group is out of Ringo, Georgia.
Thank you.
And they would like to have, if we, what would you say, we want to get rid of this
Right.
stuff, they would like to have a shot at it.
Surplus it.
This is just tells you a little bit about it. I want to surplus it, they would like to have a shot at it, at getting it, and they would dispose of it, and that's the items on the back that we're going to get rid of.
And they're wanting it for their ministry, correct?
Yes, yes. He has a deaf and what they have.
And it was mentioned, this item is out of state. With their, if we were to declare the surplus, obviously, that would open it up, but in order to donate something like this, what would be the requirement for that?
Well, it is a private entity. You can't make donation to private entities. However, if it is, and I assume it's a non-profit entity qualified under 501c3. If it's not a 501c3, I think you can't do it, period. If it is a 501c3, and if it would, from promote a public purpose, and I don't know, I have to look at it, because it is a private, looks like a private, academy. I don't know.
He said they was non-profit,
Yeah.
whether they're a 501c, that I don't know.
Normally, there are nonprofit entities within states, according to state law, that are nonprofit, that are not necessarily 501c3 recognized by the IRS. Like churches in Alabama are all nonprofits, generally. They don't have to be 501c3 to be a nonprofit.
Right.
So I don't know if that's what it is.
Okay.
Question?
This was a request that was made, so as presented. So we will have to declare this surplus regardless, but the plan would be to remove those items. And then you see the refurbishing of the next several items, and then the worksheet you have goes into the play structure. We're trying to get those bids sorted. This would be the bid specs, trying to get that cleaned up a little bit more and have a little bit more focus on that. Will we have that next week, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hope to have that next week also, so that we can begin the bid process for the playground structure. You also have in there a quote based on this, what we're looking at, quote, and of course, it would have to be bid out, so that's an estimate from one company on what this would cost. So any questions or comments on the playground portion of the project? Okay, do we, any opposition to placing this on the agenda to put out for bids next week? Okay, and the final items regarding the financing, Mr. Manning, do you have some information available for that?
We just contacted our local bank concerning the leasing of a 15-year loan with a 10-year balloon on that, as y'all had suggested we look at. We do have two of the bids back, still waiting on $2 for that.
And you've emailed out some information.
I did email out the one that came in from one of our banks, so we should have that email.
As we get that information, we'll get that. And if you have any questions before next Monday, again, we'd like to proceed with the acceptance of the bid and financing option next week. So if you have any questions before then, you get with Bob regarding the information that's sent out between now and then. Anything else on that we need to be aware of?
Just waiting on their replies now, so.
Okay.
Do you agree with that process of 15-year and balloon?
I think that would be a perfect way to go forward with that.
Just so you don't put yourself in a pickle, you know, these,
The one that we got in, roughly, it's almost a $1 million balloon at the end of 10 years. And we determine at that point, what to proceed on with that. And, so I haven't got the other two back yet.
I'm looking at it, and I mean, the payment schedule, you know, I think it can be made very easy with the revenue that's gonna generate. Just keep you out of the, you always pay more,
Right.
but that's good. Is the other one you got pretty comparable?
It looks a little higher than that one, but I haven't got their schedule back yet. I think it's gonna be a little higher than that one on the interest rate.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. If there's no objection, then we'll plan to have that on the agenda as well next week. Okay, next item regarding the Revenue Commission tax sale location. And you have a resolution in your packets. It requests basically that we allow the Revenue Commissioner to have the tax sale and other location if inclement weather occurs. Again, this is just to cover if the need were to occur. I think it's state law that requires it be held in the front of the north side of the courthouse. So this would allow them, if there is inclement weather, to hold it somewhere in the courthouse. questions or comments on this? If there's no objection, we'll place that on the agenda next week. Charter franchise agreement. Mr. Porter, could you, I know you've reviewed this. Is this something that happens every so many years, or could you explain kind of the?
It is, and I think the term on this one is 10 years, renewable for another 10. And it's similar to, we already have franchise, the charter already has a franchise agreement, and this is just a renewal of that or a renegotiation. We already have franchise agreements with the Power Board, with Farmers Telephone, and the New Hope Telephone, the same thing. So this is just a franchise agreement to allow the charter to use the right of way. And they'll pay us 3%.
Any questions or comments?
Where exactly does it say they'll pay 3%?
Back further, let me pull it out, it's back further in the agreement, it's not on the front page, where you would think to find it, but it's not there.
Page 6. Any other questions or comments? We'll have this to review. We can move forward with this next week. If there's no opposition, we can place this on the agenda. If there are any questions at that time, we can hold off or postpone. Any other questions or comments?
Where do we put these, like franchise agreements, these revenues?
We have a
Has it got its own line item?
Franchise fee,
Yes.
very minimal dollars for it. But yeah, we do have that. Any other questions or comments? We'll place that on the agenda then next week if there's no objection. Next item regarding polling place for Fackler. They requested that we move this from the Fackler Fire Department to the Fackler Community Center. There's some concerns with the fire department building. I believe they'd like to see this done before the next election. I think we've got to do that 90 days, so at this point, we've still got time to do that. So if we're prepared, we can move forward with this next week to make this change.
You say we have to make it by next week.
We have 90 days, I believe. Well,
Do you think we should have a community meeting about this? I mean, or is this?
it's located right there next to the.
Oh, so it ain't okay.
Sunday, Sunday.
Next door,
Okay.
better facility.
I just wondered, I know some people get tore out of the frame if you move it too far.
Yeah,
Wonder why they didn't mention this when we had our community meeting up there a couple of weeks ago.
that's a good question.
But a good time.
Yeah, it would've been a good time.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if there's no objection, that'll be on next week's agenda. Next item regarding the library agreement. I think some of you may be aware of this. The Stevenson Library and also the Bridgeport Library have asked to be removed or to be exempt from an agreement that you have in your packets. The agreement is a resolution approved by, or agreement approved by the Jackson County Commission, somewhat forming a library authority. It doesn't officially identify a library authority as I understand it, but it does show the libraries involved and identifies the amount of funding that they receive on their per capita. I spoke with Ms. Taylor, who's with the state, and you see a letter from Ms. Taylor's on top. My understanding, if we are to move forward with Stevenson's request, which is to be exempt or pulled out of this authority, again, Stevenson and Bridgeport, we would need to pass a new resolution saying that there is no authority in place. And we'd also need to pass a resolution identifying the funding. The recommendation, of course, would be to leave the funding as it is now, the per capita to remain the same as it is right now, and then also to specify and clarify that there is no library association or authority within Jackson County. I have not spoken with Woodville, who's the only group that's a part of this that I've not spoken with, so I would like to talk with them this week to see what their thoughts on it are. And then, of course, we'll need to get a resolution put together stating how we want to move forward. So are there questions or comments about this? It should not affect, again, if we pass the same per capita, it will not affect the funding for any of these organizations. They will continue to receive the same funding as previously. Any questions? Okay, I'll work, Mr. Porter, if we can work to get a resolution. I've actually got a separate one I'll send to you with a resolution for both the per capita, which is item 4 there, and then also to state that we've not established an authority.
You know what the point is, if your per capita ain't gonna change anymore? I'm not worried it's gonna change.
No, I think the concern is the process right now, because the way it's set up, several of things have to go through the city of Scottsboro, the Scottsboro Library, and it limits the amount of grants that they can apply for. So by opening it up, they can all apply for grants, and then, of course, they can move with the lose you. That's what I've understood from Stevens and Bridge report. Anything else, Mr. Laurel? Any other issues that they brought up? Those are the two key things I remember. Okay, so if there's no objection then, any other questions? We'll place that on the meeting and should hope to have a resolution next week. If not, we'll proceed with the next work session. Okay, next item is regarding speed limit on County Road 47. Mr. Campbell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. In your packet, please find an aerial map with a yellow line. And what that yellow line is County Road 47, College Road. To the north would be Reed's Groceries. This request came to us from the Sheriff's Office, and basically got on their radar due to a deputy issuing an unusual large amount of traffic violations in this area. So as you progress from the north to the south, there are several different traffic zones and speed zones. And to the north, in the area around the school, is posted at 25. That transitions at approximately Dutton Baptist Church to 35, and then further to the south to 45. Some of the pictures after the map will show the zone area. So our recommendation in looking at this is two parts. Part A would be on the first set of pictures you see, there's a school speed limit zone there at 25, and it is lacking the times at which that speed limit would apply. And then in the background of that same picture, you can see a posted 25 mile per hour. In the second set of pictures, you see where it transitions out of the 25 to 35, and then on further south to 45. The last page are the results of the engineering analysis done with traffic counters in these locations. And there are two speeds that I'd like to draw your attention to. Below the graph, there is a section called percentile speeds, and you'll see the 85th percentile speed is 41.4 miles per hour. Below that, you see an average, minimum, and maximum in bold print, and the average is 35.4. So what the suggestion is, after analyzing this and looking at the different speed zones, part A would be to add the times at which the school speed limit of 25 would apply. And part B would be change the posted 25 on the northern section of that roadway to the very close to the average speed at which motorists are traveling at 35 miles per hour. Basically eliminate that speed trap, if you want to call it that, of the 10 mile per hour, where it's posted at 25 now, and the 85th percentile speed is basically 41. So you got folks traveling 40 miles an hour plus in what's at 25, so he could probably sit there all day and write tickets. And Mr. Harnan, you may want to add any detail there. I'll let that out.
I think you got covered.
Okay. So we would, if there's no opposition, we would move to post a 35 and draft a resolution for that if you guys are in agreement. So if there's any discussion or you need any more information between now and next week, please let me know.
Questions or comments?
When you're proposing to do 35 mile an hour speed limit from Highway 71 up to the church, and then it would still go to 45 from there on up to the...
Yes, sir. that area there around the school on times other than school zone, times, it would be 35. It would transition to 45 further south out of town, if you want to call it that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if there's no objection, we have that resolution for next week, you said?
Yes, sir.
If there's no objection, we'll proceed with that next week. County Road 70 federal aid agreement? Campbell?
Yes, sir. In your packet, you should find an agreement labeled ALDOT on the top, federal aid, rail, highway crossing improvement. This is a railroad crossing on County Road 70, basically across from North Jackson High School. The portion of 70 that runs from State Route 277 to US 72. And this is a federal aid act, basically. This is a maintenance agreement that you have before you, and it's a result of an on-site meeting that occurred today with ALDOT personnel and Miss Manning. And what this is, basically, it's an agreement on our part to maintain the passive devices that will be installed at this crossing. This crossing has made it on their list, federal aid list, and ALDOT to receive 100% funding for gates, active and passive warning devices in the location, and from the completion of construction moving forward, by signing this, we would agree to maintain all the passive warning devices, which will include markings and legends and signage at these locations.
What would maintaining that entail? I mean, how often does that need to be replaced, or?
Yeah, once the markings and legends are worn out, we would be responsible for replacing that. Or once the signs lose retroreflectivity, we would be responsible for replacing those signs.
Or if somebody damages it,
Vandalism,
we're gonna be responsible.
accidents, anything along those lines.
What do we have the capability of doing ourselves? What would we have to?
We have in-house updated markings and legends. Essentially, it's a high-performance traffic marking paint, and we have the ability to apply beads. It's a manual, labor-intensive deal. Obviously, we don't have a machine or trucks to do the work with, but we can do handwork to freshen up things. So, as far as thermoplastic, hot-applied thermoplastic, we do not have that capability, so it would be contract. It would be contract forces that would have to do that. If your mind is like mine, you're curious to why this railroad crossing would qualify for 100% funding, whereas I recently discussed County Road 33, that's been a project break or not, and in doing some research on that, they're somewhat similar in the fatalities that have occurred there, but the frequency of accidents at this County Road 70 versus 33 is much higher. And there are a lot more trains that pass this location, 16 compared to 31. 31 here, 16 at 33. There actually are two mainline active tracks here versus just one main line and a spur as compared to 33. And 33 has received some updating, so there are actually cross bucks, whistles, bells, lights, whereas this one is just stops. And
There will be no active portion on this, right? It's just going to be.
this will be full gates,
Oh, it will be.
pavement markings, and signage.
Other questions or comments?
Okay, that must be hard. It's across from a school, for one thing,
Yes, sir.
and they've got one down the road to the left, that has much less traffic. Very little traffic on it, but yet this is, the one you're talking about, it's the only one that doesn't have a signal and stop. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Anything else? There's no objection, we'll place this on the agenda next week, and you'll have a recommendation, Mr. Campbell, on how you think we need to proceed on that. Okay, next item, surplus for the sanitation department. Mr. Roberts?
Yes, sir. Just to bring everybody up to speed, we ordered 3 new trucks in September, and they'll be in here, within the next 2 weeks, those 3 trucks will be in here. At this point, I've got a 2013 automated truck that we're going to keep for a spare. I'd like to go ahead and surplus it, and then we have a small 2002 6-yard satellite truck that we're not going to be needing anymore, and I'd like to go ahead and surplus it. The reason I'd like to surplus the 2013 is a few weeks ago, we had an engine go down in one of the trucks that we had already previously surplus. So with that being said, later on, we'll have to put a motor in this truck. So I'd like to take and surplus this extra truck that we had that we were going to keep for a spare, and then make the repairs on this other one later and keep it as a spare.
Are we still using the 2313 truck?
Yes, sir, yeah. But now this one when I won't sell this truck, it'll be a few more weeks, maybe up to 3 weeks to a month before it would be up for sale, when the other trucks are in and we're running those.
Questions or comments? Essentially, we're going to keep the 11 truck now and surplus the 13. correct?
Yes, sir, at this point we have to. I think would be the best way right now.
Any other thoughts? If there's no objection, then we'll place that on the agenda for next week. Concludes the items for our discussion. Move on to our reports. Mr. Manning? Mr. Porter?
I don't have it.
Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, sir, I would like to announce that next Wednesday we'll have a pre-construction conference for County Road 213, Mud Creek Ridge. The time is yet to be determined, so if you're interested, let me know and I'll get the time to you. We received a notice to proceed last week.
Mr. Barnes? Mr. Honey? Mr. Dibble? Mr. Knight?
No, sir.
Mr. Duffy?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, that concludes the items for this afternoon. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, say no.